Without further ado, I don't want to waste any more time. We have our next speaker here available to us. His name is Daniel Jackson, and he's been an avid community member for Tulsa for quite a while, and not just Tulsa in general, but the University of Tulsa as well. He has been a native game developer and leader of the Unreal Engine team for Tulsa. He actually currently has a project coming in for an Xbox game called Solos, which is also technically one of our sponsors as well, and is currently available on Steam. So I would recommend everybody to check that out for us, and just give it some interesting feedback and stuff, and really just give it a good give it a good dive in.
Mhm.
So let's give the floor for Daniel Jackson, please, and let's have him take it away.
Right. Well, welcome, everyone. To this talk is the Oklahoma Community and Events. I'd like to thank everyone at the Computer Simulation and Gaming Conference for having me. My name is Daniel Jackson, and I'm not just some floating voice. This is what I actually look like in the real world. And so the first community I want to talk about is Techlahoma. So they're a nonprofit that wants to help the grassroots efforts of all tech of Oklahoma, not just games. I'm part of Tulsa Game Developers. We'll get that into a second. But Techlahoma has multiple user groups. So if you're into like, hey, I like this coding language, they have groups for certain ones. I know Python and JavaScript, not Java, has one, and I believe they're active, but then they also have other things like if you're into agile development, they have a whole group for that. And then every year they have two different conferences. So you can go to techlahoma.org to find out more information from there. I will be throwing all of these links in the official Discord channel after the talk. So one of the groups that's part of Techlahoma is Tulsa Game Developers. We meet every second Thursday of the month. Right now, we're meeting on Discord. It's all online. Everyone's um, free and welcome to come. All ages events, also. We keep it appropriate. Uh, so through Techlahoma, they want us to use Meetup. And so if you go to their Meetup page, it's Tulsa Game Dev. I'll throw the link in there. But if you search Tulsa Game Developers, it will show up. We throw that in our official Facebook group, and then we also have the Discord that we use. Now, right now, since we're doing it online, we're just doing all of the conferences and everything through Discord. When we can meet back in person, we meet at 36 degrees north, and you'll find that out in future posts about how to get there and stuff like that. This is the actual Discord that we use. So there's also other groups that we have. So Elliot just gave a talk. So if you have any questions, he's down in the Game Maker one, and then I'm usually in the Unreal group. This is the Facebook page for it. I'll throw that link in there. If you, a lot of people like Facebook, and then a lot of people don't. So we try and like double up like announcements in there, but there may be different conversations going on Facebook and in Discord. So whatever you enjoy, you use. Then the next group that's supported through Techlahoma is the Oklahoma Game Devs. And so they have online meetings. Not They haven't been consistent with everything going on this past year because they actually were at a studio where they would meet up and stuff, and so they're going through a transition period. But they have online meetings through Twitch. So if you want to watch their talks and stuff like that, you can go to Twitch and find that out. And I'll throw those links in the chat. All right, so now we have other user groups that are outside of Techlahoma. So the first one is Unity. Now this is hosted by TU, and they have their Facebook page. You can go, I'll send the link in there. So that's if you use the tool of Unity. But their meetings are on Discord also, but they have their own channel outside of the Tulsa Game Devs. So anything that has to do with Unity, if you use it, think about using it, anything like that, that's where you can go and find your people. And then there's the Unreal Engine meetup group, and that's every third Thursday of the month, and that's also on Discord. But they want you to have your Epic Games account and sign in through their Epic Games launcher. I mean, not launcher, website. It's just communities at Unreal, and so from there it pushes the information to Meetup and stuff. So if you're part of the Meetup, you're getting the same information, but they prefer this because they have a more direct communication and they can send you things afterwards and all that. All right. So those are the main community events that are currently in existence. Now are community things. Now we have like events. So every year we have Global Game Jam, and the one coming up next year is January 28th through the 30th. And how a game jam works is you have 72 hours to make a game. Or is it 48? Sorry. Basically, it's you get there on a Friday, and then by Sunday afternoon, you have to turn something in. This is how I've met majority of the community of Oklahoma, of anyone around. And the past few years, it's been hosted by TU, and they've done a great job of making sure that everyone gets what they need. They have space, things like that, and actually meet people in little mixers ahead of time so that you can find people that use the same sort of tools you do, or like people that have different ideas, things like that. So I highly recommend going to Global Game Jam's site now and get an account, get logged in. That way, um, you're set up for next year and you can put it in your calendar and things like that. Then every April, we have CSGC. You're currently at that one. I don't have the dates for next year, but I'm assuming we have it next year. In person, I highly recommend when we do that, even if you like don't want to be part of the competition or whatever, is bring your games in, get a booth, get in there and have people play your game, because having people play your game is the most important thing in game development. I mean, you might sit there and be like, "Oh, I'm trying to program this," or we have this artist, they're doing this great art. But if it's not in other people's hands, and especially the hands of people that are going to be playing the game or buying the game, you don't really know what you're making until they play it. I got some crazy feedback my first year with Ramify that I never would have thought of. Also, the biggest thing I actually learned of going to any of the CSGC events is having kids play your game. If they're like under the age of 10, they don't care who you are. They will tell you what's wrong with your game, and it is always good advice. So hopefully you guys start putting your games out in future years to this event. And so the website is CSGConf, and I'll throw the link in there. If you're not registered, like the event's still going on, I believe you can still register. You want to be part of that. That way you're part of the email system and all of that information. So please make sure you're registered. Tokyo and Tulsa is not an official, like we're not affiliated with them. We just get booths there as Tulsa game developers. And so usually what we try and do is we get a booth and then we rotate out. So it's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we would be like, all right, split it into half days. So like this group is going to come in Friday morning, this one Friday afternoon, and they're each going to have their own games and have their games be played by a bunch of strangers. But what's cool about Tokyo and Tulsa is it's predominantly the market of people that like to play video games or board games. We'll get into that later, physical games and stuff. And having people play your game is a big thing. And so their event is July 9th through the 11th. Oh, that was last year. Oh, yeah, that's this year. I don't know what year it is, apparently. So I recommend if we can get a booth this year, they may already be filled up. They just announced all the stuff. So if we have the booth this year, we'll definitely be looking for people to, hey, come and show off your game. And then every October for Tulsa game developers, we have the Game Dev Summit. Basically it's the talks that you would do that you're watching today at CSGC. We do that. No competition, nothing like that, just talks. And we try and bring in anyone that uses like similar tools to what people are actually using. And then have so that the community can grow that way and be like, hey, you use these things. Let's get people that also use those things, but they're in different areas. And so we try and connect them that way. All right. Studios. So there's only a few. Technically, it would be companies, but we call them studios. Some people actually have buildings. Some people are on their own. Some people are looking for internships. Some people are actually hiring. Some people are just solo devs trying to make really cool games. So the first one is Goldfire. They're out of Oklahoma City. Uh, James Simpson, who runs Oklahoma Game Devs, that group that we talked about earlier, he actually runs this company, and then their new game is Arctic Awakening. So you can wishlist that now on Steam. I believe they work with interns if you're in college level and looking for uh, an opportunity. I believe you can contact them for internships and stuff like that. 66 games. This is where I work. And we made a game called Solos. So we don't really have a studio per se, but if anyone wants to join the team of some kind, we're always looking for new people and stuff like that. And then Megalithic Mainframe. I hope I said that right. And so this is Elliot's company that he just gave the talk on, Game Maker. He has MonCon. He's always looking for anyone that uses Game Maker. So he's trying to build that community out. I don't know if he's looking for interns or hiring anyone or anything like that, but I know he's always trying to find people of that community. But you should also go to Steam and wishlist his game, but there's a demo available. So if you want to try out the game first, you definitely can, but definitely wishlist it. It really helps Steam algorithms. And then From the End Games, uh, they made BoogieBot. This was actually, I believe, the 2019 CSGC winner for Best Indie Dev. And so they just released their game, so you can wishlist it or purchase it, whichever one you want to do. I believe it's just the two. It's just Julian and Ben. I don't know if they're looking for interns or artists or anything like that, or how they're growing their company, but they do exist, and so they're out there. And so now we have the future. So we're getting into like how we're going to grow the future of communities. So the first one is ecosystem. Basically, we want anyone that's thinking of starting a company, like just start it. If you need help, reach out to anyone else that started a company already here. So I have, or any of these other people, just to give you an idea of like what it's going to take to start a studio. It's not to deter you, be like, oh, we're going to tell you how hard it is. No, you should start a company. You should definitely get that ecosystem here so that we can draw talent from the outside instead of constantly raising talent up and then we send it out. And so we're trying to reverse that system and build up an ecosystem here. More tools groups. So people that use Photoshop. We don't really have a Photoshop group. We don't have a 2D artist group. We don't have a 3D artist group. Also, what other tools are really popular? All I can think of is like Blender, and off the top of my head, sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me. The Basically anyone that's using that, what you can do is say, hey, I want to start in the Discord. I can start a channel for any of those tools. So if you're trying to use those, we can get that started. Don't think like, oh, I got to start a meetup and I have to be consistent with it. Like we can just start a little thing and then grow tools group that way. So if it's like, hey, Blender's become its own big thing and we're going to do monthly meetups for it for all the Blender people, we totally can. But it's easier to start small and be like, hey, it's this little thing, and just have like a little help desk and then get those people there. So if you are like, man, I'm super passionate about, Pixel or one of the other random art tools, hit me up and we will get that going. There's a big VR scene corporately here. A lot of companies use VR or make things in VR. And so we're trying to figure out how to bridge that gap for people that, even if they're not making games, they understand, hey, we're working in that space and we can provide people for that. And so hopefully get jobs. But we don't really have like a designated VR group or a VR community per se. So if you guys want to start that up and someone's like, man, I am the VR guy or girl or person, come to Discord, and we will start that group and get it going if you want to. And then we need a game artist community we're pretty dev focused, but then everyone's like, hey, we need artists, we need this. And that's not just artists like, hey, I draw this thing. We have really talented musicians. I'm talking about John and a few others that, they don't have their own, like, hey, we make this kind of art and it applies to games. A lot of voiceover people come by and they're like, hey, I can do sounds for the game, I can do voices, whatever you need. And then we also have game writers. So I'm throwing a lot of people under this artist category because they're just creators. They're going to go out and create, and they want to work in games. So we need to build up that community also. So if you're one of those people that are like, man, I will help, reach out. And then the next one is physical games. We have uh, Alden was the only person I know of that was like active, like trying to build a physical game. And then pandemic hit and all that. So I'm assuming some other people are like, I got this idea for a board game. I don't really want to code. I want this. Like, we're definitely trying to grow this community also. So if you'd want, we were trying to do monthly meetups to start a physical games meetup. Be like, all right, this Thursday of the month is physical games, and we start that. So don't feel like if you're watching this, like you have a place here, man. Like if you're in physical games. Virtual production is the new one. So Unreal, I know, does it, and I'm pretty sure Unity has some form of like camera system that people are either trying to make commercials in, make movies in, do things with game engines that are not games. We have just a Facebook for virtual production. We don't really have like a big meeting place or anything like that. We don't have monthly meetups. But I feel like that's one of those things that's going to grow and move forward. And then I believe we're close to the end. The esports. So we have a ton of teams here. I know Broken Arrow just started their team, and then I want to say like 6 others made like public announcements that they have esports teams. Well, we're a bunch of game devs. We should be developing esports titles. We should be trying to figure out, competitive game space and figure out those kind of games, because a lot of schools are looking for those kind of games to play. And we could really build that up as a community, but also build up community as an esports. It would be really cool to have the Tulsa team that's a national team, or an Oklahoma team. Like, I don't know how regular sports really work, but I would assume a Tulsa team would be the current goal of like building it up. So I feel like esports is the direction things are going to go in, whether we want it to or not, and we should really embrace it. And so that's my main talk part of CSGC. I had, if there were any questions or anything like that, I'm going to have time for that. Next is Clay Railing. He's one of my good friends, and he's going to be talking about Unity, and you should definitely go to his talk and watch it. He's up next. So I'm ready for any questions that might have shown up. If not, I can just give off more information about different communities and stuff like that, if there was anything.
So, quick question. So obviously Oklahoma has the Techlahoma. Now, was Techlahoma around when you guys first started the game dev
Techlahoma started the
community?
game dev group.
Oh, they started the tech.
Yeah, so Techlahoma came around. Their part, I believe the Kaiser Foundation was like, we want tech stuff. So they were part of the initiative that said, we're going to build 36 degrees north. We're going to do the Tulsa remote. Like, all of that were ripples. Like, we were just one of the waves in the ripples of all that effort from Techlahoma.
All right. Well, do you have any suggestions, say somebody out of state or in a different community, if they're wanting to start a gaming community, a game dev community, or any kind of tech community, where should they start out?
Okay, consistency is where you should definitely start. So Tulsa Game Devs is every second Thursday of the month. People know it's at 6 o'clock. It may be online, it may be in person, but you have to send that like, hey, I will always be here at that time. And then once you have that time figured out, then your tools kind of adapt. So like we initially started just on Facebook, but then they were like, no, we want Meetup also. Now it's on Discord, but the time has never changed and being consistent has never changed. So no matter what's going on, you always make it so that you can have it. The quickest way to start something right now is Facebook. Meetup costs money, so but Facebook doesn't. But you can start, hey, I'm so if you're doing a broad thing like game developers of Oklahoma, right? Like if you were just doing that or some other area, you can do something really broad. But then if you want to like narrow it down and be like, man, I'm only looking for Unity people in this city, you could just start your own Unity group for that city on Facebook within a few minutes, and that's pretty easy. Now, there's also official meetup groups that are way more helpful. So, for example, Unreal, I host the Unreal one. I reached out to them and they said, "Yeah, here's your account. Here's this. You're now the lead. Okay, here are the tools you need to make events and stuff. Go ahead and do it." And then I'm pretty sure, I mean, you run the Unity one. Do they have an official Unity
Yeah,
group?
we did the same thing. We
Mhm.
reached out to them and we're on their official list of communities.
Y- Yeah. So to get on that list for Unreal was pretty easy. I imagine it's pretty easy with Unity. So if you're using one of those kind of tools and they already have a system like that, reach out to them and see what they do. And they also send you like Unreal sends like swag bags basically of like here's a bunch of buttons and stickers and t-shirts and stuff that you can pass out at meetings and stuff like that. So if you're associated with one of them, they will usually help you out if you reach out to them first. If you're doing just a general like, hey, I want to start getting people involved, then just go broad and just reach out to Facebook. Or not reach out, but just start a Facebook group would be the quickest one.
All right. We got a couple of questions here from Carrie. The first one
Yeah.
is, could teachers pop into the Discord to find guest speakers? And in addition to that, does the community have existing outreach and education projects?
So uh the first question was about to find people, right? So how we usually find people is we just reach out to people that are kind of making similar things that we're doing. So like uh years ago, uh back when we would still meet in person, Eric Lee was doing VR and making things in VR. So he came and gave a whole talk on his art workflow in VR. And so we just reached out to people that already existed in the community. If you're looking for people that are already in the community, like just on the Discord and you're just wanting them, just reach out to them personally, and I'm sure they'll respond. As far as education, uh, I mean, I helped at a few schools with stuff, but nothing. I mean, they just said, "Hey, can you help?" And I said yes. So that's as far as that went. But there's no like ongoing education program or learning process or anything like that. I hope
Oh,
that
yep.
answers the question.
Yeah, that answers your question. All
Okay.
right. All right. Thank you again for your time today and being a part, as always, with CSGC in
Mhm.
2021.
Right on. Thank you. Everyone have a great day.